So I'm going to try and make today's as interactive as possible. I've got a few slides here, which you'll be able to see. So I'll just go over some of the basics there. It'll be quite familiar to you guys if you're already actually on a plan. And then I'll just run in and basically do a live demo of the platform, so you guys can actually see it in practice. Um, Let me know as well, is there anything you guys are really specifically looking to get out of it? Is there like a specific feature you want to learn more about? Is there a particular like topic you just want to know is covered and how you would use the platform to get more information on it? Just let me know because I'm going to be trying to go back and forth between the slides and on the platform, and just kind of seeing what you guys are inputting there and trying to make it as tailored as possible. This recording probably won't go on our YouTube page. Trying to make it as personal as possible so you guys get as much out of it as I can offer. Yeah, get the most out of our bundle. I mean, to be honest with you, because I'll be showing some of the tools there in terms of like AI and customizing documents. But if you're on like if you've got everything, so the most value you have out of that is actually just speaking to the lawyers and accountants on hand. Even with the tax, you've got Tim Quinn, Pradi, and Pax Sargent, who work on their hands-on stuff. And if you I don't know if you've checked out their LinkedIn, for example, they're really, really qualified, overqualified if anything. Um, when it comes to actually getting the most out of your particular subscription, it's the people you're actually speaking to. Um, but I'll definitely showcase some of the features as well, so you can actually use documents and get those reviewed and use the AI tools. What else do we have here? From Hamza, do you have internal policies and procedures that Lawpath can provide our business? Um, I'd probably want to know more on the industry you're in. If there's anything specifically, okay, mainly for compliance, cybersecurity, and fraud. If you're thinking like workplace policies, we've got heaps of those. Loads of health and safety documents on the platform. Cybersecurity, we have like service agreements pertaining to people in software or generic service agreements that anyone in any industry can use. If you're worried about fraud, best to actually speak to a lawyer and get some more information on that. Yeah, private practice. Yeah, I mean, we can certainly help you get set up, Pasquale, if you're thinking about opening a private practice. I'll showcase it later, but we have somewhere where you can actually register a company, if you're going out by yourself. Are you a commercial lawyer, Pascal, or are you going to like family law or personal law? Generalist over everything. And we've got Skull, games development startup, have registered my PR company with Lawpath, looking to make sure I have set up the documents well on Lawpath, NDA, and EULA. Yeah, cool. So are you on the essentials there, Scott, I presume? Yeah, yeah. So in those cases, I mean, you have some AI tools like the review, which can provide some insights. The main obstacle with NDAs is they can be really broad, so it's good to actually be really, really specific and tailor them depending on what you have, whether it's an idea or some sensitive information within the business. So I would get some advice, and that's something that you can get advice on through the legal advice plan if you want to upgrade to that. So you can receive that. Cool. But let me jump in then. I'll start the slides, and then I'll probably go about halfway before switching over to the platform, and I'll log into my law path. But today, so we'll be going through obviously the contract management side of the business, what that looks like. I'll showcase the workflows. If you guys have questions on the workflows and a bit more about what they're about, just put it in there as I'm going, and I'll showcase probably the easiest but most essential aspect of the business, kind of booking in legal and accounting consultations on the platform. And I'll provide some more information on the legal advice plan, the Lawpath AI, and hopefully you guys have some questions for me as I'm going throughout. But we will have a Q&A at the end as well. It's probably worth noting as well as a bit of a disclaimer. I'm a consultant for Lawpath. I can explain everything on the platform. Once in a blue moon, someone might hit me with a question I've never had before, which is good. But anything legal or accounting wise, take with an absolute handful of salt from me. I kind of learn on the go. I kind of learn a lot of the horror stories from people who come across us. But I'm not in a position to give you guys any like formal legal advice or accounting advice for your business. Please speak to our experts for that. Cool. So just a quick overview then. Launching, running, and growing your business is hard. I'm sure I don't have to tell you guys that. I've spoken to a few people, and it's not just a Monday to Friday thing. For a lot of people, it's 7 days a week, 24/7, to make it a successful business. We found from reports, especially with the Australian Bureau of Statistics, about 80% of individuals and 87% of small businesses find it difficult to access the legal services they need. And that's typically because it takes a long time. I know this firsthand myself when I had to book in for an appointment with an immigration agent. It took me about 3 weeks before I could actually speak to him. I had to pay up front. And I didn't really get necessary answers off the cuff. I had to kind of wait around for that time. And traditionally, these conversations I've had with people, it's very much the same thing um, as they're trying to get that assistance for their company setup or assistance throughout the year. What we've tried to do is basically switch things around, and we've offered a largely subscription service. It's really simple solutions that cover a lot of the complex legal aspects of running your business. Unfortunately, there's no crash course in commercial law when you start a business. And that being said, a lot of lawyers will spend about 6 to 7 years actually studying law to be competent in it. So it's not an easy aspect. Sometimes a lot of people just want to stick their head in the sand rather than deal with it, front on because it can be quite stressful. Um, we're trying to switch that around and just make it as accessible to people as possible and as simple to people as possible. And obviously that way you can actually focus on growing your business and doing what you're passionate about. Like most people I speak to, this business of theirs is their baby. Obviously want it to be successful. Um, Long term, they maybe want to pass it down or sell it. Um, cool. So platform features. So it's a contract management system. You guys have this all in your essentials plan and the legal advice plan. And you essentially have access to create and sign over 500 legal documents via a document builder. And you can also add up to 3 members of your team to your account to collaborate on those documents. You'll sometimes see that as a banner when you're on a document. At the top right, it says collab or share. And you can invite them to the subscription so they can see the documents you're using. The only exception to that, and I've actually learned this recently, is the company documents. If you have a company document, you can still download them. You can still share them with your maybe shareholders or co-founders that way. But when it actually comes to editing those documents, if you edit a company document, you have to notify ASIC of that. So it's something you can't collaborate on the platform in that regards. Otherwise, everything else you can invite other people to and work on documents, create new documents together. Important to note as well, all the documents have been drafted by a team of commercial lawyers. We actually get a lot of them as well from a business called LexisNexis, if you've heard of them. I think they're the largest, quote me if I'm wrong, Pascal, but they're the largest provider of legal documents to lawyers, I think in the world. And they have subscriptions. I think it's like about 10 grand a year, isn't it, Pascal? If you want to correct me on that. But that's what I've heard. It's expensive, and we get a lot of their documents and a lot of other things we've actually drafted ourselves, depending on the needs of our clients. Notably, like recently, we've had that right to disconnect policy here. Yeah, your agency is a subscriber. Yeah, I would be surprised if they weren't. Yeah, the right to disconnect policy, which comes into effect next Monday. We've actually had that document ready to go for some time and up on the platform. So as changes do get made in Australian legislation, we update them as we go and way ahead of time. Awesome. So workflows, these are essentially 12 tasks really popular with businesses. There's a few, like there's an NDIS one, and there's a recruitment one, I believe. So it's quite specific to those industries. The rest of them are pretty broad, so meaning a lot of people from different businesses will come and do those tasks. There's included with all the packages. The essentials people will use them a lot. So um, you mentioned there, Scott, about the NDA. There's actually a workflow for NDAs. And it's essentially just hearing it from the horse's mouth. So it's a common sense, but step-by-step guide, as if you're actually speaking to a lawyer with those workflows. Lawpath AI. So there's 5 features on here. There's the ask, draft, review, simplify, and translate. I'm not a tech guy. I couldn't tell you everything in the back end software wise. Essentially, we've actually collaborated with Amazon AWS, Amazon Web Services, to create this really, really awesome piece of tech there. It's essentially it's its own model. It's unique to Australian law. It's unique to Lawpath, and it's also that way it's a lot more specific actually to what you guys would need for your businesses. ChatGPT can be a good workaround, but it's pretty broad. It's not hugely specific. Whereas if you guys have actually experienced with the ask feature, especially on the Lawpath AI, the more back and forth you have with it, the more specific you can get with the questions, the better it can actually provide you those answers. It's a really good handy tool. I prefer to look at it though as a out of hours, outside of business hour AI tool. I think if you have access to, access to lawyers, whether it's through the live chat or through the consultations, they would always be your safest bet. They'll always be the gold standard. But it's good for those kind of quick answers, quick questions. Same with the draft feature. So it's not full documents yet. It's just it can draft you a couple of clauses and provisions to chuck in there. So we have actually had lawyers with no affiliation to Lawpath whatsoever actually using that draft me feature to include that in contracts they're doing for their own clients. So really good indication it's doing as intended. I still prefer to err on the side of caution, have that reviewed, speak to a human, just check the clauses you're including either yourself or through the draft feature are compliant and tailored to your business. I say that because last year there was a bit of an infamous case of a lawyer in New York who used ChatGPT to draft heaps of clauses and tried to use it to draft documents. And about half of it was inaccurate, and actually some of the citations it completely made up. So if you do have any existing documents you've done through ChatGPT, I would seriously have those at least reviewed, if not, frankly, bin them and restart. Saw that a lot last year with a lot of website related documents. So just food for thought there. Now, the document review is, again, as it says on the tin, it kind of begins to work a bit like the ask feature, in the sense that you can kind of have a bit of back and forth with it. It provides just some key takeaways initially, but then if you do want to ask it some more specific questions about the document, it will analyze it further and then try to identify additional issues with clauses or find the answers you need from complex legal documents. It will also review external documents as well. So if you guys upload anything onto a platform that you already have that's existing, and it will do literally anything. Like I've had it review random PDFs. It doesn't give much to that. It kind of needs to be a bit more legal based, but it can do it. It's a really clever bit of kit. So if you have anything existing, you can stick that in there as well. And then, yeah, finally, simplify. If you're like me with no formal legal background and you're staring at a piece of, uh, you know, legal jargon or provisional clause and you just kind of want it re-explained in layman's terms, this is exactly what the simplify feature will do. You'll often see it crop up when you're actually highlighting or hovering over text when you're on a document. But if you do highlight it, you can just copy and paste it straight into the tab there as well. And finally, translate. Literally, as it says on a tin, it can do 31 different languages. Really ideal when you're in situations where maybe English isn't your first language, or you might have a client or supplier, whoever it may be, where English isn't their first language either. They need to understand what they're signing. So having that tool available to you is an absolute must if you find yourself speaking to someone like that. Cool. So legal advice plan. So this is our most popular plan people use on the platform. Sometimes people start on the essentials and then after a while will actually upgrade onto the legal advice plan, normally within the first 2 months, because they eventually do have questions on clauses and provisions in there, or a lot of the contracts, the language can be quite broad and they need to tailor it. They need to include some terms in them which are more specific, and they just want to make sure it's A, compliant, um, and B, thinking a little bit outside the box, which I'll provide some examples later when we come to the content review. What is it in a nutshell? So it connects you to our expert lawyers. We have 17 internal lawyers here at Lawpath. We do have a very large network of about 1,000 lawyers externally, which are a mix of individuals and firms. And we try to keep as much in-house as possible, but we will rely on that if we're at capacity or a client has a particularly niche area where we think they might be best fit speaking to someone else. That being said, you'll see, actually, maybe I'll share it here. Got some useful links. You'll see, I'll share this link here where it says law firm legal. You can scroll down, you can click on their faces, you can see their relevant experience and some of their niche areas of expertise. But that being said, most lawyers can answer any question that you have. There might be a few cases where we might recommend speaking to someone else so that you kind of get that gold standard answer. But what's it for? It's there to gain insights into legal documents that you create and receive, covering those key terms, clauses, and additional inclusions, and to ensure the optimal protection for your business. Like there's a lot of crossover with businesses, but no business is the same. Like a bakery is not the same as Amazon. Um, Someone operating like a Snap Fitness or gym chain is going to have different requirements than someone running a software company. Also, the people you might be dealing with, there's lots of different situations you can find yourself from a legal standpoint. You want to make sure that when you're actually setting up documents and presenting those documents to people to sign, that it's been reviewed, it's tailored to what you're hoping to achieve to protect your business interests. And finally, we've got seek guidance on HR employment queries. That's a really huge one at the moment because a lot of sweeping changes are about to be made in Australian legislation around the employment side and HR. We did a webinar on it Tuesday. You can go to our YouTube page and view that if you guys want to see some of the key ones. We can't cover everything that gets changed, but it's just some of the key ones there. So if you guys do have employees, I definitely recommend checking it out. Gold standard would be to actually speak to one of our lawyers and get across that. Even if you're an existing subscriber, booking a call. Yep, so it's unlimited 30-minute phone and also video consultations with our lawyers. There are some fair use, there are some caveats to that. You can't call us at 3 a.m. in the morning. It is Monday to Friday. Bookings through the platform are done between 12 and 4:30. However, we have been known to do some off the books. If you're really desperate to speak to us, I've booked in a few people for 11 a.m. if needs be, because they had a really hot pressing issue they wanted to get some advice on. What is the hourly rate? Well, the market rate for a senior lawyer's time is about $600. I've seen it go higher, but it's around $600. The subscription, this legal advice plan is a subscription-based model, so it's unlimited consultations for the whole year. The plan itself is 1668, but we have quarterly installment options as well for 537. So much more manageable. As you guys will well know, majority of our clientele are startups and small businesses. So we just try and provide some flexible billing options there so that you can keep the costs down as much as possible. Yep, it's no longer with us. Bookings, yep, yep. And it's same day bookings or next day bookings. Um, Again, generally before 10 a.m. you can get same day, but it's just in the sense that the ability to book expires after 10 a.m. It doesn't mean that we can't actually fit you in. So if you do have a hot pressing legal matter, you could reach out to me if I'm your account manager, our customer support team, but we also have that dedicated legal services team as well to schedule you in. So multitude of ways you can speak to us and get booked in if you really need it. Right. And accounting consultations, same thing in principle, unlimited consultations, 30 minutes a pop. A lot of people will get advice around specific types of tax and registering for a tax. Um, Accounting software queries, people want to come to speak to us about. Obviously, tax planning and minimization, that's a really huge one. Just making sure that the piece of the pie you keep for your business is as large as possible and as small as possible for the ATO. So that's sometimes just getting year-round advice on your tax deductibles, tax concessions, um, and also maybe having an appropriate business structure in place which benefits you from a legal and tax standpoint. That's what people really want to know on that plan in particular. But there's a myriad of other topics we cover through those consultations. You'll actually see, or if some of you don't know, we're partnered with Pop Accounting, who handle those consultations. If you guys check them out, you'll see they have a 4.8 out of 5-star rating. They've got some really fantastic reviews, and I've had some really great feedback from clients using them. Our tax plan is a separate thing. That's with like Tim Quinn, Pat Sargent, who handle all your hands-on work. Cool. Right, let me jump out and I'll do a platform demo. If there's anything I've said or anything you've seen on the slides that's uh caused you to have a quick query or question, please feel free to ask it in the web chat now. I promise you there's no silly questions. If you're thinking it, there's a good chance someone else is also thinking it as well. Let me just stop the share. Go to Lawpath. All right, so hopefully this is very familiar to everyone on the platform. This is your home page. You can navigate quickly from here to create a legal document, signing a legal document, or go into the live chat with our lawyers and accountants for those quick questions. Yep, I will be, Sarita. It's been one of the first things I'll showcase here. I'd like to get the niggly stuff out the way. If you guys have more questions on them, feel free to hit me up in that chat. Obviously, we have the partner offers here. The top ones at the moment are the MyOb and the web services with GoDaddy. If you guys are in the process of actually starting a website, maybe check these guys out. If you guys are maybe sick of the current accounting software you're using or starting out and need some accounting software, definitely check out this offer here. It's 30 days free trial. You can cancel any time, and then it's 50% off for the next 11 months. But it's just rolling month to month anyway. You're not locked in for a full year. Gee, is everyone have an established business or are people about to register a new entity perhaps, or you haven't actually registered the business yet? Maybe you're a sole trader and about to begin a company or begin a trust. But either or, we're We got everything under one roof. So a lot of people come to us initially to actually register a company, which they can do so through here. We've got our own version of the ASIC form as it appears on our website. It's much more user friendly than their own one. You can register your ABN, register an ACN, add existing businesses, register your business name or trading name, and register a trademark and also register a virtual office. So you can actually use our office here in Surrey Hills as your registered office address for the company. When it comes to actually registering a trademark, though, I would advise speaking to a lawyer beforehand before you jump in and do it yourself. I say that because I've seen people make mistakes and they've had to restart that whole process. It's just money down the drain. So I definitely recommend if you're doing anything around IP, speak to a professional first. And you can also manage the compliance aspect of the business. So if you guys are doing any changes to the company structure, at any point, I don't know if you've checked out the ASIC fees, and we do offer a service where you can either change like individual things as you go as one-offs, or we do have some packages where you can do multiple changes, which works out a lot cheaper in the long run. The only change we don't do is changing the company name because ASIC bill about $600 to $700 to do so. But the key ones in there is changing maybe your share class codes, exiting or reintroducing shareholders, changing of roles in the company. There's a myriad of things that people may alter in the company structure as they go. But they're really, really important to do. ASIC do bill for basically late changes or overdue changes, so it's worth being on top of. Workflows, I'll quickly go over just so you guys know it's available to you. So as I mentioned, these are things very much from the horse's mouth. Go to new workflow. Setting up NDIS. Most popular ones are definitely setting up that non-disclosure agreement, or hiring or dismissing an employee, or hiring a contractor. Again, I'd recommend going and checking out our webinar on Tuesday or speaking to a lawyer firsthand because there are about to be some changes legally within these two fields. So if you have employees, definitely give that one a watch. If I just quickly show you what it looks like, so I might go hiring a full time and create the workflow from there. And as I said, it's very commonsensical. There's things about just interviewing the candidate, but then there's also bits around sending out the job offer, and the workflows as well will include the relevant documents you need to carry out that task. So in this instance, the full-time employment agreement, organization policy. So we have an employee handbook which has 30 policies included in there. We do have more policies, so you can add or remove things as you see fit. But really good idea to have workplace policies for your business. If you do have employees, they're literally your sort of first line of defense against a disgruntled employee if they ever want to, God forbid, accuse you of anything as the owner. And then finally, your tax, insurance, and super setup. So a bit of an accounting aspect to it there. So one thing I could do is actually go straight to create a document, and this is where I normally showcase the e-sign feature. But if I just go into documents itself, first of all, you guys obviously know this is where you'll house everything that you've created on the platform. But it's also where I can add in my own additional contracts or documents if I see fit. This is the AI review feature I mentioned earlier. If I want to review an existing document, pretty much anything I upload will give me that feature. But if it's not completed, it won't let me review it until it's done. So I can always go back in and edit anything I've used there. And then this is our e-sign feature. So if I did have an external document, I could quickly throw it in there and add it in. But say I want to do a brand new one, might go new document. You see we've got everything down to subheadings. A quick hack I like to use as well is actually to use the Lawpath Ask feature to provide some examples of documents I may need. But that being said, um, if you have access to a legal advice plan, I just ask them directly. It's one of the first questions I'd be asking them on that plan, establishing exactly what contracts or documents you need for your customers, for your website, for suppliers, for other people in the business, for people you may be engaging to maybe partner with in some regard. So they might suggest that NDA, or if you do go into business with them, then having that assignment of IP, for example. But let me show you the employment, and I'll do the e-sign on that one. So I've deliberately gone quite broad and vague just to showcase like how much will come up if you're still unsure precisely what you need, but you have a rough area. It's especially handy because sometimes people have the same name, or sorry, different name for the same document. So they'll tend to add in something quite broad and find what they need from there. That being said, a lot of the documents, well, sorry, all of the documents come with a summary. They come with the key clauses in the blurb of what you can expect inside of it, some helpful hints, and often as well, because there will be some documents people get confused with how they're meant to use them. Like a partnership agreement is a good example, or a co-founder agreement is a good example. So sometimes in the summary, it will maybe say, hey, this is the purpose of this document, but do you actually need this instead? um, and make that recommendation. That will be all on all the relevant documents where there is confusion on there often because we get that feedback from people. Let's go to create document. So I'll demonstrate the privacy policy after this just because I am very familiar with it and some of the customization tools on there. It's also only 2 pages, so it's really easy for me to get through it. If I did this demo with a shareholders agreement, we'd be here for some time. It's like a 30-page document. There's that collab button I mentioned if I wanted to invite people across and add them in as team members. I can add comments, I can add header footer, I could add in a company logo here or watermark if I so desired. But for the sake of this e-sign, I'm going to force complete the document. Now it's saying it's incomplete. It's there as a safeguard, so you don't, send out a contract and you've missed key details in there. Like around the pricing, which would you'd think be hard to miss, but you never know. It's going to flag that you still need to finalize the document before you send it. However, for the purpose of today's webinar, I'm going to complete the document so I can access the e-sign feature. Awesome. So here I can go to AI review as well if I wanted to. I can share it instantly. I can get the lawyer's help. So prompt me to request that consultation. But let's go to e-sign. So 3 ways to do e-sign. You have the self-sign, which is just for you. You have to set up the signature for yourself and someone else or multiple people. Excuse me. And we have to create a template option as well, which is the only real difference between this and this is this where you get the PDF and you can send it via email. This is a reusable link, so anyone who has the link can actually jump onto that and sign it if needs be. But we'll just go to the setup signature for now. Awesome. So I believe, so I need to put in myself. So I'll go, and so you'll notice here, these correspond to the icons here. So I could click here and add it in, or I can drag it, depending on what's ever easier. If you're doing it on a tablet, sometimes it's actually easy just to tap it. But I need to add in my signee, so let's do my test run. And there's an easy thing to miss, but you'll see here I'm actually still highlighted as the original as myself, you need to switch it to the next person or people you need to add into the contract. So do hit that icon there, and then I can drag and drop the relevant signatures. Actually, what I will do as well, if I come back up to, maybe I'll just add in the signature there as well, so you can see it from the self sign. I go next, add in a personal message if you want to, and send. So now it's going to prompt me. I can either sign it later as myself or sign it now to actually really showcase the e-sign feature. I'll sign it now. So text, I could just like obviously just type in like normal and e-sign. So I actually recently, oh no, it's back. So when you've ever done a signature, it will remember it. So you can just input it again. So it might pay to actually have a good crack at perfecting it and making it as pretty as possible. That being said, you can actually just use the fancy italics and create a signature that way. It's absolutely fine if you want to do that instead. Doesn't necessarily have to be your perfect signature, it just needs to have a signature for that represents you on there. If I wanted to try and have a crack at it again, I prefer this this particular feature on the tablet. I can actually just add that there or add it underneath if I wanted to. You can always update them and change them anyway as you go. So next steps there, it will still show as in progress if you've sent it to someone like your employee to sign. And then you'll get notification once that's signed on their end. Any questions on that, guys? All right, moving on. Thanks, Scott. So let me just go through some of the AI tools and other safeguards on the platform with the privacy policy. So I recommend as much as possible sticking to the contract builder. It's designed there to take you, step by step, so you don't skip a beat. Obviously, there is that safeguard at the end, regardless, to tell you there's incomplete details. But the other reason as well is it's actually going to provide tips and common answers as you're going. You may also want to utilize like the Lawpath ask and draft feature. Add in the clauses as you go. Like I do have an example here actually. So I'll get that turned a bit. But the key thing to also realize here with these documents is that going through the contract builder, depending on what you're inputting, will often actually potentially change the outcome of what's included or the language that's included in there. So if, for example, I say, okay, with my privacy policy, I'll be collecting information of people outside of Australia or be stored somewhere outside of Australia. If you couldn't tell, I'm a POM, so we'll go, they're located in Home Sweet's home in England. Does it cater to customers outside of Europe? And then I don't know if you clock that. I'll just go back. So it's actually included a GDPR clause in there. So depending on what you're inputting, sometimes it will alter and change for you. That being said, gold standard is always to speak to a lawyer and get it as tailored as possible to your business or the purpose for which you need the document. Alternatively, maybe I want to write a clause, see if it remembers it from last time. We'll provide some suggestions here. So you can like brief drafted data collection clause, data storage security clause, consent clause. I could ask it like, I can just add it in that way. So that's one utilization of it. Otherwise, you may want to stick to some of the suggested questions as well. Or this might be a time where you actually, I mean, we can book a request a consultation, or we can actually go to consultations and copy and paste maybe a clause there from the document if you want that really quick, fast response and fast answer to it. If the lawyer does feel like, this probably warrants a longer discussion, they'll make that recommendation to actually book in a consult. Cool. And these documents are fully customizable, guys. If you haven't noticed, you can still click in and write out your own revisions. If needs be, you can remove it as well if you feel like there's too much jargon in there. I'll sometimes be looking at the same document and one person will tell me there's too much in it. The other person might say there's not enough. So it's just a case of tailoring it, adding in more details to protect the business, or with the former, it's more of a case maybe they're worried they're going to actually put off a client if there's too much legal jargon in there. So you can absolutely remove things if you feel it's overkill. That being said, if for example I try to remove this complaint procedure, it's actually going to flag that I've affected the document's validity. I need it in there to ensure it's compliant. So it's not completely a wild west. You can't delete everything. It will flag with you if you need to keep that within the contract. Awesome. So let me just showcase actually booking the consults and what that looks like for the documents. I'll start from the beginning. So you have your request consultation. Here's the open live chat I mentioned. It's only available to people on the legal or accounting advice plans, but you could throw in a quick question there. Generally speaking, you could pop in a question, take your lunch, or maybe you're on the move while you're driving, but don't text and drive, and then have an answer pretty much within the hour. It's going to annoy me now. Cool. All right, so just get. So I have a bit of a prepared brief to show you guys. It's a bit of overkill, but I just wanted to kind of showcase some of the things you could typically ask for. So we have lawyer accounting. So these are the caveats. These are things we don't discuss on the legal advice plan. That being said, there's a few things on there which you can still get advice on for an additional fee, or that we do actually assist in some other capacity, like not-for-profit is a good example. We don't provide not-for-profit legal advice, but we have actually registered not-for-profit companies and provided legal documentation to them. Strata, it's something a bit more high level. We don't provide address advice on there, but it's something we sometimes discuss on our retainer plans with clients if they need that. Residential, we don't. If you do have commercial property or property that's used for commercial purposes, that's fine. Tax is covered on the accounting, not on the legal. Criminal litigation, personal family estate planning, we don't. Or immigration or COVID-19 vaccine law, which always gives people a bit of PTSD when I mention that. Cool. So area of law. So these are the hot topics. Commercial law, which could be pretty broad, contract review, employment law, HR support, debt recovery, IP, property and startup law. We have these accelerator programs as well, which are more focused towards startups or people within their first 3 to 5 years of business. They're essentially there designed to give you every bang for your buck when you subscribe with those advice plans. So there's one. We've got one for the legal, we've got one for the accountant, and they're just there to because a lot of people say, "Well, I don't know what I should be asking." What I'll typically do is actually provide some of the top 10 questions that you should be asking, just to get the the ball rolling and maximize the subscription. But we already have these in here as well. So if I actually showcase some of them, it's like reviewing important clauses within a shareholder or partnership agreement, or how to protect your brand and your IP. We're trying to give you the questions so you can get the answers and build out that legal foundation um, of your business to make sure that you're, as competent as you can be for those. How to start capital raising, future-proof your business to meet long-term goals. So there's 5 topics on the legal. It's 6 topics on the accounting front. If it's going to be your first time, or I mean, you can book a discovery call anytime, really. I would highly recommend using this option and basically in the brief talking about in more detail your business, maybe some of the short-term, long-term goals you have there, and make it as specific as possible. From there, it's really the lawyer's job to explore any legal gaps within the business you're not aware of. I do, however, like to stress the consultations are unlimited. Don't feel like you have to get through everything in one go. You can come back to discuss a new or different legal topic. Um, that being said, if you guys actually click the link to the client testimonials, um, you'll see like a few of them. There's about 30 in there, but a few of them will actually talk about how sometimes they can get their answer within 15, 20 minutes of the consult. There's a guy called Carl Dare, runs a physiotherapist clinic, who actually speaks to that specifically. We could go contract review as well, although you can actually add in a contract for anything, as you'll see here. So this is actually in relation to a contractor agreement. So you might want to ask, look, I want to actually, first of all, ensure that the person I'm hiring can actually be defined as working for me and not a contractor. You do not want to be on that kind of level of hot water when it comes to that. So I want to avoid essentially sham contracting. There's new legislation which is taking effect next Monday, so I want to get familiar with that as it pertains to my business. And also a really huge one. This can be for contractor, employee, um, client, maybe a new partner you're bringing into the business. But protecting my IP from the contractors, that's a really big one. I read because I'm an absolute nerd, I read a stat recently about from I think from NAB, and they were just saying like one of the big things they've noticed is that most people don't actually register a trademark around anything around their business. So there might be something if you haven't had that discussion yet, definitely have a chat with our team. And other accompanying documents I should be hiring with this contractor. So any workplace policies I'm going to need them to sign, NDA, assignment of IP for some examples I've included in there. And then this is really key as well. So if you are going through that document and you're identifying clauses or provisions you're not sure on, add them in there to that brief so the lawyers across them. You might also want to, ask for suggestions around additional things you could be adding in there, or, the language I've used here, is that appropriate? Can I chazz it up a bit? Or fundamentally, is it compliant? Believe it or not, you can't put just anything into a contract and make it legally enforceable. You want to make sure with the advice that you can enforce it should you have to. This was an example given to me, but you may want to discuss if it's in a contractor aspect or even employee aspect about post-contractual restraints, which might pertain to relating for competitors or previous clients. So this is a skippable step. So I can upload the document. There's actually that contractor agreement I did. There's the privacy policy we did and the employment agreement. That being said, you can also upload anything external from here. Oh, let's not showcase that. You can drag and drop or add it as long as you have in PDF form. And same process again, in the brief, highlight anything you're concerned of or want to get some clarity on. Then we go next, select the best lawyer for me, or you can actually see our internal lawyers here. So on that Meet the Lawyers page link, as I mentioned, you can see their areas of expertise, so you can make a decision for yourself. I would recommend, especially if it's your first time or it's quite a specific issue, maybe just leaving it. Select the best lawyer for me and let our legal service team make that recommendation for you. However, if you've done that maybe initial consult with Mark, for example, he's a very senior lawyer, he's been around since the 1990s operating in law. and you really hit it off with him and you think he understands kind of the short-term and long-term goals of the business, you can obviously come back and keep booking in with him. Cool. Phone or video. Let's just go phone. And you can choose the time. So obviously here it's past 10, so I can't book in, but I could try go for tomorrow, next week, etc. I can change the time zone. Maybe enjoying yourself a nice little holiday in Amsterdam. Maybe it's the time zone change. Let's go Perth. Or you're in Perth and the changes will times will change here. Just a bit conscious of times, guys. The accounting, when it comes to the accounting advice, it's literally the same process. The caveats there are, I mean, some of these we will provide advice on for an additional fee. Areas, go accounting software, taxation, bookkeeping, GST, your business structure, and those accelerator programs I mentioned. Could add in the brief here. It's the same actually. From here, it's actually the same process. Okay. Q&A is going. Got a question here. Shao, you missed something. How do I create the contract from the template? So the template's pre-made. So you just find the contract you need, click create documents when you're on it, and go from there, just following the contract builder through or editing it on the page itself as you see fit. And then as soon as you finalize that, you have got the AI tools available to you. But I'd also recommend booking in a consult to have that contract reviewed. All right, so let me know, guys, if you've got any questions there in the web chat or the Q&A. I can quickly tick off. We've still got 5 to 10 minutes left. If you want to check out all the services we offer here, you'll find them in the products and pricing. You'll also get all your invoices in the account settings. And that's also where you can add in additional team members. You can add additional 3 people. It's worth noting, especially around tax time, that anything you purchase, including registrations or the plans here, are considered a digital business expense by the ATO, so they're 100% tax deductible. At least where the business tax return is concerned, you get every cent of that back and deduced. And some of you who are actually existing subscribers pre-July, um, this might be new to you. If your credit card info has changed, where can I change it? To be fair, Jenny, with that, if it's a billing issue, you can actually just contact customer support or your account manager, and they can change that for you um, over the phone. If you need to purchase something new, you can actually just do that yourself through the platform. Yeah. So if you were with us pre-July, we've actually mixed things up now. We've actually got some quarterly installment options on the plans, and you can actually now have things standalone now, depending on the needs of your business. That being said, we are offering discounts if you bundle things together with a upfront annual cost. Or as I was speaking to a gentleman yesterday actually about this, you can actually chop and change things. So you might be on the accounting advice plan for the year, and then you feel like it's really kind of served its purpose, but you want to keep the legal advice. You can actually remove the accounting and just keep like legal advice and tax. But if you ever do have an accounting query pop up, maybe you just want to pay for a ad hoc, or actually take up the subscription again because you know you've got some ongoing accounting needs with the business. But a multitude of options here now to obviously support your business and make sure you have that year-round support, being as proactive as possible. The last thing you want is something to come and figuratively bite you in the arse. So it really pays to have those conversations with the experts. Like you don't know what you don't know at the end of the day. And I often think these conversations are a bit of a hydra. You ask a question, you get an answer, it kind of breeds new questions and gets you thinking about things you hadn't maybe considered beforehand. Anything else, guys? Anything else I've maybe not shown you're really keen to quickly see? Or anything you want me to quickly show you again? Anything you want me to just confirm that we actually have as an option to um, discuss with our legal or accounting team? Mhm. All right. Cool. Okay. We might leave it there then. I'll be sending out the slides as well for you guys. It's worth if I actually just drop down. If you're a new subscriber as well, we do actually have a discounted option as well on our quarterly legal advice plan. There's the coupon code there. And there are also some special upgrade options as well. If you are a existing subscriber, and feel free to reach out to me or respond to my email or message if you wish to claim that today and actually sort of open the door to getting that support for your business. All right. No, thanks, Scott. All right. Well, thanks for everyone for attending. Reach out if you guys want actually another demo. My emails will have a link to book in a time. We can discuss anything a bit more personal to the business if needs be. So do feel free to select that. I can do either a phone or video call depending on your preference. But thanks again for everyone attending. Um, and yeah, cheers. Have a good day. Bye, everyone.